So, episode 20, lads. That's practically 3 weeks. It's practically halfway there. So I said I was going to basically check in with yous. And by check in with yous, I suppose I mean check in with myself. Anytime I reference my audience or the listeners or, you guys, I'm generally addressing myself because ultimately it's just me talking into a microphone. And look, if I wasn't doing this for my own selfish reasons, I don't think I'd still be doing it. I don't think there'd be enough in it for me. If I was just reciting everything that I knew and I was very comfortable with and I was just regurgitating it into a microphone and uploading it, I don't really see the net benefit of that to me or anybody else. But what I'm doing now is I'm learning as I go. I'm learning on the fly. So a lot of the stuff that I've mentioned, I would have known, but an awful lot of it I wouldn't have known. Like Doggerland for a start. Who the fuck knew about Doggerland? Holy shit. Maybe it's just me, but that just blew my tiny mind. My younger brother, friend of the show and future guest, Aidan McKeown, he's based out in Qatar, or Qatar as he endlessly tells me it's pronounced. He's in a city over there called Doha, teaching away. He listened to the episode about Doggerland there, was it yesterday or the day before, whenever it was, and sent me on what was it? Zealandia, I think it was called. Zealandia. Zealandia. Another fucking Doggerland, basically. New Zealand has its own continent, essentially, which was above sea level at one stage. Fucking mental. What was it? 5 million square kilometers. Like, again, they're thereabouts the size of Europe. I don't know what the square kilometers of Europe is, but like, it's fucking enormous. And New Zealand, as we know it today, is literally just the tip of an enormous above sea level continent. From when, I don't know. I might do an episode on it myself. I literally just glazed over it this morning, but fucking madness. And that's what I love about this, that the bit of back and forth, because other people have sent me stuff as well. I'm off the lead at gmail.com or any of the social media platforms. If you're something that you think I might be interested, by all means fucking send it on. It could become a podcast in its own right. I think I might do one on on Zealandia, whatever the fuck it's called. But anyway, I digress. We're halfway through and I'm going to check in with myself and whoever else is out there. The ancient past, the whole migration of our species coming out of Africa and populating the rest of the world and all that jazz. What's it been like for you? That's what I'd love a bit of feedback for. Are you bored to tears? Is it blowing your fucking mind? Is it a bit of both? What about the format, just the delivery, the swearing, and the way it's not particularly scripted? Like, I can tell you now for an absolute certainty, I have a couple of bullet points in front of me, but I'm most certainly don't have any shape or form of a script, and don't for any of the episodes, and won't, I don't think, until I actually condense 30 episodes, say, into an hour-long documentary. That's when I'll need a script and I'll want to kind of give it its due. But anyway, let us know how it's been. Let us know what you like or dislike about how kind of jumpy it is. I know I'm jumping from one thing to another, but look, they're standalone episodes, so we'll see. But anyway, so just checking in with you, and by you I mean me. The clocks went back a couple of weeks ago. It's getting darker fucking by the evening. How's that working out for you? Is this a bit of a distraction, if nothing else? How's your breathing, dieting, push-ups going? Have you been doing something like that? Have you made a change? Have you altered your life in order to put your best foot forward and not have this winter period as depressing as it's fucking going to be if you don't do something about it? And if you haven't done any of those things, don't be thinking it's too late. Me that loves my little sayings, you're the oldest you've ever been and you're the youngest you'll ever be. Okay, so just in relation to whether or not you've changed your diet or you've started exercising or you've started doing some sort of 30-day trial or plan or whatever it is, remember this: you're the oldest you've ever been and you're the youngest you'll ever be. Okay, so you're as wise as you've ever been and you're as fucking healthy as you've ever likely to be or have been. But anyway, just said I'd get that out of the way, just to basically check in with you and see how you are liking it or disliking it. Pros and cons, let me know. I'm off the lead at gmail.com, or hit me up a message on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or any of those places. Anyway, On my way in to drop the kids to school this morning, I saw a bumper sticker type thing. It was in the window of the back of a van. And it said, "Lord, give me the strength to be the person my dog thinks I am." And it's just like, that. It just made me smile. I just think it's so fucking cool. I'm going to repeat that again. So, "Lord, give me the strength to be the person my dog thinks I am." If you've ever had a dog, or if you have a dog, you'll know that your dog always welcomes you home. They fucking love to see you because they fucking love you. They love you unconditionally. They're always excited to see you. They can't spend enough time with you because they think you're class. And it's not something that you've taught them. You didn't bring them to dog training school and get them to like you. Okay? They just fucking love you to bits unconditionally. And that's a big reason why we have dogs. Okay? Now, people who have dogs and who have had dogs over the years, or who currently have a dog, they're going to get this. They're going to know what I'm talking about. Okay? They're going to get it, but they mightn't necessarily know it. Okay, now I've often spoken about the difference between getting something and knowing it, and I'm going to expand on it slightly here, because I think the dog the dog loving you unconditionally is a really good example of that. So if you've had dogs all your life, and I was to ask you yesterday, what do you think your dog, or what is it about your dog that makes you keep feeding him and not just give him to the local pound? Most people will say, "Oh fuck, like no, I couldn't give him to a pound. I love my dog. I mean, my dog's part of the family. I mean, you couldn't get rid of him. He's like a fucking child." Okay, so people get it, but people would very rarely articulate it in the sense that I articulated it there a minute ago. Like if I was to ask you, what is it about your dog that you like so much? The odds of you saying something like, "Well, it's because he loves me unconditionally," the odds of you saying something like that to me are slim to non-existent. Okay, I don't think most people know that. They get it. Okay, they understand it. They get it intuitively, but they don't know it. Okay, and increasingly I'm becoming of the opinion that it's a left and right hemisphere thing. So as I've mentioned before, and as I'll quickly outline here, our brains occupy the space inside our skulls, and they are very much so split between a left hemisphere and a right hemisphere. It basically just means that it comes in two halves, a left half and a right half. Now, they are connected and there's a lot of crossover. And just so you know, you use all of your brain all of the time. If you've ever heard this idea that we only use 5% of our brain, blah, 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 we've got untapped potential, nonsense. Every single last word of it, absolutely nonsense. You use 100% of your brain all the fucking time. That's a generalization, but believe me, it's better than thinking you only use 5% of your brain. Anyway, the left and the right have different functions. Now, they work together, don't get me wrong, all the time, but they certainly do have their specialities. And the left hemisphere is known as our more analytical side, and our right hemisphere is known as our more intuitive side. Okay, so what I'm beginning to become increasingly convinced of is that the left, more analytical brain, that's the brain that knows it. And the right, more intuitive brain, that's the brain that gets it. So the right hemisphere, or the right side of the brain, is more intuitive. What does that mean? It means that there's more of a feeling to it. It's automatic, it's unconscious, it's spontaneous, it's instinctive. Okay? You don't have to explain to a child that the tiger is dangerous. They fucking get it. Okay? It's the right side of their brain that says, "Get the fuck away from that thing. It's bad news." Okay? Now, it's the left side of the brain that you have to both use and speak to when you're explaining something to a child. Not anything, but when you're explaining that you can't drink the bleach from under the kitchen sink, you're using your analytical brain and you're addressing your child's analytical brain, or the left side of the brain. Okay, it has to be explained to them that there's a danger around the substance, because kids don't get it. The right side of their brain doesn't see the difference between a bottle of bleach and a bottle of 7-Up. Okay, so the analytical brain think the scientific method, or mathematics. It's logical, it's systematic, it's reasonable, it's rational. Okay, so it's the right side of the brain that understands why you love your dog and why you'd never give it to a fucking pound. Okay, your right intuitive side gets it, but your left analytical side, maybe now it knows it. That's what I'm trying to get across here. Is the right side of your brain has known that your dog is part of the family. It gets it. But the analytical side of the brain mightn't actually be able to articulate it. Now, it doesn't matter, because the right side of the brain the right side of the brain isn't going to let the analytical side of the brain do something that's not in its interest. So the analytical, more scientific, more rational, reasonable side of the brain could think something like this. It's costing me $10 a week to feed this animal, or I could kill it, cook it, save me €20 in meat over the course of my monthly shop, and then save me €10 a week indefinitely because I don't have to feed it. That's something that the left brain might come up with. Now, the right brain's not going to have any of that. The right brain's going to go, fucking what? No. And it's not going to need the words to explain it. It's just going to go, no. Okay? It's just going to go, fuck that. It mightn't be able to articulate why, like the left side can. The left side, the more analytical side, it's great for coming up with reasonable arguments. Okay? The right brain, not so much. Okay, the right side of the brain, should I say, not so much. The right side of the brain is like, fucking, no, I just don't like this. I don't know why. I'm not going to explain it. Not happening. I'll give you another great example of this. I've essentially ended up setting up an MMA gym. And now, you know, it doesn't have 200 members all paying me fucking 50 quid a month or anything. There's 4 or 5 lads that come down, or came down before lockdown, twice a week, and it's all for free at the minute. But, you know, I want to get back fighting. No better way than to start up my own club and take it from there. Anyway, more on that in a future episode. But in relation to knowing something and getting something, there's a great example that was shown to me by the lads. So the lads, 2 of the lads are on the ground on the mats in my club. They're training away, they get themselves tied up into a knot, and they're in a bit of a stalemate. So they go, here, Frano, can you come over here and show me what I'm supposed to do from this position? I look at them and I go, and I don't know what to tell them. Now, if I was in that position, I wouldn't have to think about it, because I get it. I understand jiu-jitsu. Okay? I get jiu-jitsu. I don't know it, but I get it. So when the lads are asking me, what do I do from this position? I'll often have to say, okay, you jump out, let me into the position. And when I'm in the position, I go, oh yeah, what you do is you put your right hand here, your left hand there, and you bump your hip. And they go, oh, okay, right, grand. But I didn't know that. I got it, because if I was in that position, I wouldn't have had to think about it. I would have just moved my right hand here, my left hand here, and bumped my hip. And we would have been on to the next position. And that's the left and the brain, or at least this is where my understanding of the difference between the left and the right hemisphere is leading me to believe. It's leading me to believe that the right side gets it and the left side knows it. And to be educated, I suppose, or to be wise, I think, is when the 2 of those sides are congruent. It's when they're both working together. It's when you know something and you get it. That's when you've essentially mastered something. When you know something and you get it. And that's buried within my efforts to try and explain our ancient past. There's a lot of things that we know, there's a lot of things that we get, and if I can just fucking squeeze the 2 of them together. And again, when I say we, I said it there a couple of times, there's a lot of things we know and there's a lot of things we get. Replace we with I. There's a lot of things that I know and there's a lot of things that I get. And one thing that this podcast is helping me do is to essentially squeeze those 2 things together so that I'm wiser. That's the goal, at least. That's what I'm striving for. It's to try and get the left and right. It's to try to get my left and my right hemispheres working together so that I can become wiser, become a better person, become a better father, become a better husband, become a better dog owner, and become a better podcaster. And I'll chat to you tomorrow. But before I let you go, I'd just like to remind everybody that this episode and all the episodes on YouTube have been brought to you by past guest and friend of the show, Pat McKeown. Pat is very similar to myself insofar as that he's long had an interest in the mind and more specifically the brain and how they both interact, to such an extent that he went and spent 4 years getting a degree in neuroscience and then spent a further year in getting a master's in psychology. Now what he's done is pretty fucking cool. He's after setting up his own YouTube channel. It's called Pat's Psychology Masters, and there's a link in the description. Now what he's done here is he's uploaded all the best bits that he's learned over the last 5 years and put them into short, plain English, easy to understand YouTube videos for the likes of myself. His YouTube channel has been a massive resource for me in understanding both my mind and the mind of others. So hit up Pat's Psychology Masters YouTube channel, subscribe, give it a like and a comment and a share. All that kind of stuff helps, and I'll chat to you soon.